Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Career Path with OA. I'm Omar Abedin, and today we are talking about phase 5 of my career so far. Phase 1 was 5 years in Pakistan, phase 2 was 5 years in the Middle East, Dubai and Saudi Arabia. Phase 3 was 5 years more or less in Canada and the US. Phase 4 was 10 years back in Dubai, doing different things, including my startup journey. So there was phase 4 part 1 and phase 4 part 2. And so this is phase 5. In January of 2017, I moved back to Pakistan. A full 20 years after leaving Pakistan. In 2016, my brother and his family had moved to Canada. My parents were alone, and I couldn't leave them alone in their old age. They were becoming exceedingly weak, fragile. Health was not, great. So I made the very tough decision to leave my role with ACB and leave Dubai and move back. My family stayed on in the UAE. I gave them the option of staying there. I said, look, I'll continue to support you guys. If you want, you can stay here. I'm not going to force you to move to Pakistan, but I have to go. It was also the middle of the school year, so it made sense. I was very lucky that, at the end of that school year in June or July, Afsha and the kids moved back to Pakistan. In the meantime, we were working on my son's admission into high school and my daughter's admission into medical school. She wanted to be a doctor. And, all of that was going on in parallel. So I was very lucky to be offered the role of CEO of one of the largest media agencies in Pakistan. For those of you who don't know, media agencies have the responsibility of placing communication and advertising for clients on different types of media channels like, television, radio, outdoor, obviously digital, all the digital different digital media and marketing options, from Google search all the way through to Facebook advertising and other kinds of in-app advertising and so on. It's a big responsibility. The business model for media agencies traditionally has been that you get paid a commission on the amount of money deployed into the media. So within that commission, you have to cover the costs of the planning, the teams that are supporting the client side. There is a lot of work, and one big client can command a team of 10, 15 people dedicated just to the media planning and buying of that particular company. And we had some amazing clients: Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, Mondelez, Engro or RFC. This is, just a few. We had a whole roster of incredible clients, local and multinational. And the business was, as I said, quite a large one. At that time, the turnover was in the millions of dollars. And the challenge was the bottom line. The company was struggling with recoveries. It was, recovering money from clients. So clients would pay us sometimes after 60 days or 90 days. And in the meantime, we had to, convince the TV channels to actually go ahead and air the advertising. So, collections was unfortunately a very large problem. Secondly, there was a great deal of if you want to put it politely, mismanagement. And if you want to call a spade a spade, there was a great deal of corruption in this industry, with a lot of weirdness going on. So I think the reason that the chairman, Rehan Merchant, wanted me to come in and work as the CEO, as a relative outsider, is I can say one thing about my career. I have never been accused or even mentioned in the same breath as corruption. It's something that I have actively fought against, and unfortunately in many emerging markets like Pakistan, marketing teams and their supporting advertising teams, media teams, promotional support teams, trade activation teams fall victim to the temptation of indulging in corruption. So I think he wanted someone with a spotless record, and especially in this area, and someone who had a track record of innovation and would be able to hopefully kickstart different revenue streams. So I had my task cut out for me. This was my first CEO role. I had a team of 150 people and 3 offices across the country. I started out meeting all of these people. I instituted something called Tea with the CEO. So every morning I would meet one person in the team, and just chit chat. And there were people who had been with the company for 15 years and had never met the CEO. So I started with the oldest employees first, and one of them actually broke down in tears. He was so nervous and so scared of meeting the CEO that he literally broke down and started crying. It took me 15 minutes to get him to calm down and explain to him that I just wanted to learn about his journey. And he said, sir, I've walked past this office every day for 15 years and I have never been invited inside. It is what it is. So along with that, I was trying to institute a culture of timeliness, get people to work on time. That was an epic fail. I tried everything. In Karachi, we have a joke that you can get someone to commit murder, but don't ask them to come in on time in the morning. So I tried and tried and tried, and eventually I just gave up. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get my team in on time. Part of it was that they used to work really late because clients would sit late. They would make demands at 5 p.m. of stuff that had to be handed in at 9 p.m. the same night, and it was just a vicious cycle. And eventually I just gave up. Now let's talk about the individual challenges, right? Collections. We had 3 clients who owed us in excess of 100 million rupees each. In those days, 100 million rupees was $1 million each, right? And this is money that is more than 6 months outstanding. We didn't even count the outstandings that were less than 6 months. So with one client who was Lahore based, I physically had to go and sit outside the chairman's office on the desk that normally his peon or assistant sat at. I just sat there for 2 days from morning till night, just letting him see me. And he kept assuring me that the money was on the way, the check was on the way, that this was happening. I said, sir, you take your time. I just can't go back to Karachi until I get paid. And eventually, at the end of the second day, he gave me a check for, if I recall correctly, 140 million rupees. I sent someone to deposit it to the bank. I didn't leave his office. And when the bank confirmed that the check's funds were available and it was going to work out all right, I thanked him and I left. With another major client, this is a real estate client in Pakistan, very, very famous name. Everyone knows him. I'm not going to mention him because, I still live in Pakistan on the odd occasion. This gentleman, we took him off air. The whole all of his brand advertising we stopped. And we were coming up to Ramadan at the time. We got a lot of calls initially from the marketing team. Then we started getting calls from their legal team and their security team, and eventually we started getting threats, personal threats. And I told the chairman to go to Dubai, or pretend that he was in Dubai if anyone called, and just say, hey, deal with Omar, because it's his call. And that's what he did. And then they started paying us in cash. They would send us 900,000 rupees or a million rupees in cash every day. And I said, yeah, okay, at this rate it's going to take you 17 years to pay off what you owe us. And they could not believe that we would keep them off the air. And eventually Ramadan started and they were still off air. And then in a span of 5 days, we got paid over 100 million rupees. They offered us land. They said, here, take this land. You can sell it. And I said, what do we look like? Are we real estate dealers? What are we going to do with this land? You sell it and give us the money and transfer it into our account. Don't send over a sack full of money. So anyway, that was the second big customer. There was a similar story with the third. It was just embarrassing. These people running companies worth billions of rupees and just acting like they didn't want to pay. So anyway, that was one huge task. We did collections north of 300 million rupees in 6 months, and that really helped with the cash flow situation of the company. We cleaned up a lot of stuff on the HR side. There were some irregularities that had crept in over time in terms of the number of employees that were showing on the books and things like that, which, as soon as those things came to light, we fixed all of that. And overall, it was a really great assignment in a number of ways. When I went back to Pakistan, I went back as the CEO of this company, and everyone in the industry knew that Omar Abedin was back, and it was a great way to return to the country. Very high profile. I got a lot of press and visibility, and it made my life a lot easier because I didn't have to go around explaining to people who I was and what was happening. In addition, running a company with 150 people, understanding the P&L for a media agency which has multiple revenue streams and multiple cost centers, and then trying to fix that and get it into, from red to black, was a fantastic opportunity. We, at the time that I joined, digital marketing represented less than 1% of our revenue, of the 10 billion in revenue. It represented maybe 100 million rupees, $1 million out of 100 million in turnover. And when I left a year and a half later, it was 10% of our business. So we dramatically drove the turnover of the volume and value of advertising that we were doing through digital channels. My partner in crime there was Faisal Sheikh, who now runs the tremendously successful agency Jack of Digital. Faisal is a digital marketing genius. He knows everything there is to know about digital, and he and I were both the first people in the office. He would come in at 8, I'd be there by 8:15, 8:30. We were both, coming from a different ethic, I guess, when it came to being on time and, being able to add value, and, it was fantastic. And I'd known Faisal for 20 years before that, but this was the first time that we actually really got to work together, and so it was phenomenal. The team at Brainchild was comprised mainly of very young people. Many of them are superstars in their own spaces now. I'm going to tag some of them in the post. People that I loved working with, so high energy, so innovative, creative, out of the box thinkers, just really fun and fantastically fast paced and energetic environment. Loved it. Made me feel very young and very happening. At the same time, we had recruited Farhan from Saudi Arabia, from Starcom actually in Saudi Arabia, and Farhan joined as Chief Operating Officer, and he's become the CEO of the company now, so very proud of him and all the great work that he and the team have accomplished. Recently the team won 24 awards at an award show, which is always makes me proud and happy to have had a small part to play in the DNA of the company. At the end of my tenure, I started getting into a couple of sticky situations with clients. And clients in Pakistan tend to be very unrealistic in their expectations. They tend to treat media agencies as servant class, not professional partners, not people who can add value, but as part of the junior team of an organization. And they run them around, they run them ragged, they call them at all hours. We had a client who would call my team regularly at 3 o'clock in the morning because he was at work, and he used to come to work at 1 p.m. and he would work regularly till 3 or 4 in the morning. And I actually had to tell him, you can't call my team at this time. And he's like, what kind of a customer service attitude is this? And I was like, you know what? You have to get your timelines in order, man. Anyway, this happened, and then another so-called multinational client actually called up and demanded to have some of my team seconded to his office indefinitely. And I said, look, man, they have responsibilities, they have roles. They can spend time at your office, but they can't just move from Karachi to Lahore. They also have lives, they have families, they have commitments. They can't just get up and, leave. So these situations made me realize that I was not actually cut out to be on the agency side. It was a great learning experience for me, but it's not something that I wanted to be doing in the long term. So when I met Asad Khan from Kareem at a number of talking events where he and I would be on stage, one after the other or together on a panel, he asked me to look at Kareem as a possible career switch. And that is the subject of the next video. And I hope that you're enjoying this series. I hope that you are understanding some of the challenges, some of the complexity of crafting a career with purpose. It's okay to change your direction. It's okay to have a reset or a version 2.0 or a 3.0 or a 4.0, so long as you do it with purpose, so long as there is an underlying philosophy and values that you will not compromise on. That would be the message that I want to leave with you today. I'm really enjoying this series. I hope you are too. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.